Ever feel a strange magnetic pull to someone you just met, but you're unsure if it's a true soul connection or just wishful thinking? In this video, we are going to explore the subtle signs of a true soul connection, helping you recognize when there's real depth and when it's a spark that just fades away with time. I've worked with countless clients who were on the fence about a new person, and after using these strategies, they were able to tell if it was a genuine soul connection or they needed to keep looking. Hello everybody, I am Vaishali Nikhade. I'm an engineer turned psychic with over 9,000 readings, and I show you how you can leverage the power of stars for your love life. In this video, you're going to learn how to spot the difference between a genuine soul connection and a fleeting attraction. This video is going to cover the following topics. The first one is the first glimpse, confirmation of the soul connection, and synchronicities and signs from the universe. Your goal is to gaze into the eyes of the person and see if you can go beyond the physical connection, as in if you can connect to his soul and figure out if there's a soul connection, and how you do that is what we are going to explore in this video. So let's get started. The first glimpse. The first glimpse is when you encounter somebody for the first time or whenever you look into each other's eyes. However, there's a lot more to it than just looking into each other's eyes. And the easiest way to explore it is maybe with a recipe example. And in this video, I'm going to take the example of a tomato soup. Let's say that you have a bowl of tomato soup in front of you. So the first thing you do is you look at the soup. So that's the first point, where you look at the soup. The next thing is let's say you go and taste it. And then the third thing is you determine if you like it. So this is you determine if you like it. The first thing is you look at it, and then the second thing is you taste it. And there can be an equivalent for each of these points in terms of a first encounter with a person, as in the first time you have eye contact with someone. That is when you've never met them before and you're meeting them for the first time. So the first point is you look at the soup, and this would be equivalent to just looking at the person, like physically looking at the person, your eyes and this other person's eyes. Let's say it's a guy in this case. Your eyes and the other person's eyes, you are just looking at each other's eyes, okay? So that is the first point. The second point is to kind of taste the soup. So the second point is, in this case, you have to see whether you can go beyond the physical eyes. So the eyes are actually the windows to the soul. So technically, like if after looking at a person, you can't just keep staring at someone. You have to, at a certain point, after you just keep looking at someone, the taste is like you're actually connecting with the soul of a person, or you have gone beyond the physical look or beyond the physical eyes, and then you're seeing, or you have kind of entered into the so-called soul world. So essentially, you're trying to connect with the soul of the person or the spirit of the person. So the third point is you decide whether or not you like it. So in this particular case, what would happen is you are going to find out if there is a soul connection with the person. And in order for you to be able to find out if there's a soul connection, you have to first look into their eyes. And then the second one is you have to go beyond the eyes into the soul. And then the third one is you find out if there's a soul connection with the person. So if you follow these three steps, then you're going to kind of get a lot more from the first glimpse than just kind of looking at a person or staring at a person. So it can happen really, really quickly, but essentially there are like 3 phases to it. And then you go through all the 3 phases. It could just happen in seconds, but if you can understand the point that you have to go through these 3 phases, then you will be able to see whether or not you have a soul connection with the person. So if you have a soul connection, you will intuitively know that it is a soul connection. But in order for that to happen, your intuition has to be really strong, or at least it has to be sort of above average. And how do you determine whether or not your intuition is strong? You probably have had, or you probably have flexed the muscle enough times to know that your intuition is strong. And if you don't, in that case, what I have a quiz here where you can test your intuition in love. And by the end of this quiz, you will know whether your intuition is kind of weak, whether your intuition is a little over weak, but not quite that strong, or whether it falls into the strong category. So if your intuition is strong, then it's very easy for you to determine if there's a soul connection, because you're going to just know it like that in one snap. You're going to know that there's a soul connection or there is not a soul connection. So the next part is confirmation of the soul connection. How do you know if it's just wishful thinking or if it's a real soul connection? Because sometimes your mind can play tricks, and then you may think, is it really a soul connection, or am I just making it up in my mind? You don't really know. It could be either one, but you need some sort of confirmation that it is a soul connection. So the easiest way to think about it is, let's say that you visit a place, and sometimes let's say you visit a place and it's the first time you're going there and you feel like you've been there before. So it's just a feeling that happens, but you're only going there for the first time. So you feel some sort of a connection with that place, and you feel as though this is not the first time that you are going to that place. So the soul connection will work the same way. Even though it is a first encounter you have in terms of eye contact with the person, what will happen is you will feel that maybe you know this person from before. You'll feel that there is a sense of ease in terms of talking to the person, in terms of exchanging, in terms of having a conversation. You may just hit it off for no reason, and you can also feel an intense amount of chemistry between the two of you. There could be a sense of trust. Another thing that can happen is you're going to lose the barrier of time. So let's say that this is time 0. And this is when you kind of first encounter the person, and let's say we are living like a normal life or a normal world kind of a scenario, and you're not familiar with all these terms about soul and soul connection and so on. So let's say that this is time 0. So, and then let's say this is somewhere, I don't know, I'm just going to make a guess and say this is 1 week. And this is the amount of time, let's say, you spend with this person on a certain basis. It could be like a daily basis, you exchange messages, or maybe you meet for coffee or whatever. So this is 1 week. So in 1 week, you get to know the person a little bit. And then let's say this is 1 more week. So then this would be 2 weeks. So now if you just have some sort of a daily interaction with the person, then in 2 weeks, you're going to get to know the person a little bit more. But when there is a soul connection, it works differently. When there's a soul connection, what will happen is all this time period, it is going to get condensed. So the easiest way to look at it is all this time period, it is going to get condensed, and everything is going to happen in a very short period of time. So let's say it may happen in a matter of days. You may feel that there is a true connection without having to go through this period of time. So essentially what will happen is a soul connection is going to crush all the barriers of time. You're not going to need as much time to be able to kind of, let's say, get to know the person or to trust the person. Things will just flow easily and quickly. And you may even feel that maybe there's some sort of a past life connection. But essentially it's like, think of 2 people meeting and just hitting it off. And that's essentially what the soul connection is going to do. So the next part is synchronicities and signs from the universe. So how do you define synchronicity? Synchronicity is something, it is almost as though you can think of it as something that happens by chance, but something that cannot be orchestrated through human intervention in an easy manner. It is so because there are some elements of it or some aspects of it which are beyond human control. Example of a synchronicity. I had a friend let's call her Lisa, and she wanted to go to Europe. And she had like everything together. She knew where she wanted to go, she knew what she wanted to see, and she had everything together. The only thing she was missing was the amount of money or amount of funds for the airplane ticket. And she was wondering, how am I going to go? Because she really wanted to go. How am I going to go without having the funds for the airplane ticket? And believe it or not, she got a phone call, and essentially the person on the other end ended up paying for her airplane ticket. Now, this is not something that's going to happen on a day-to-day basis for everyone, and that is the reason you can call it a miracle, but it is more of a synchronistic event or occurrence, because that is not something that could have been orchestrated. The phone call from someone who is more than willing to pay for her trip to Europe. So the details about that, they don't really matter, but essentially she got the trip covered and she was able to go. So that is more of a synchronistic occurrence. So when two people meet, what kind of synchronicities can happen? So it could be they just keep running into each other, or they just keep bumping into each other, for instance. And this will happen randomly, as in it is not planned or not orchestrated. So let's say they go to the coffee shop, and there's lots of people in the coffee shop, and these two people, let's say they see each other. So that could be like one occurrence of an event. But at this point, you may just discard it as a random event because nothing really has happened. So that is, let's say, the first occurrence. So now, let's say they go to the library, and this lady, she runs into this person again. So now you can just call it a coincidence, because the person was at the coffee shop and now they are at the library. It's just a coincidence. So now it happens again that, let's say that she's going to go and she's taking a trip. So she's going to the airport. So she goes to the airport and then she runs into this person again. Now you cannot discard it as a coincidence, and you cannot also discard it as a random occurrence. There is something more beyond a random occurrence or a coincidence in this case. Because think of what it takes for two people to randomly meet so many times. It is very, very difficult. Think of like being in one spot at the airport and you having to come and see this other person, or just bumping into or running into this person at the airport. It is extremely difficult, because think of, when you leave your home for the airport and when the other person leaves, when you arrive at the airport and when the other person arrives, when you go through the security check and when the other person goes through the security check, whatever your terminal is and whatever this other person's terminal is. So how many things need to be lined up in order for these two people to kind of run into each other or bump into each other at the airport? At this point, you cannot call it a random occurrence, and you cannot also call it a coincidence. At this point, it is more of a synchronistic event, and it is almost as though the universe is trying to give you a message that you need to look for something, or you need to look out for something, or there could be something special about this person. So that is how synchronicities occur. Now, the other part of this is signs from the universe, and signs from the universe is a little bit of a bigger topic, and I've covered it in another video. I'm going to link that video here. So essentially you can look at that video, but essentially signs from the universe are going to tell you whether things are going to move forward in the positive direction or things are going to move forward in the negative direction, meaning that they are going to fall apart. And you can use or leverage the power of signs in order to kind of figure out, you can use this as an additional clue in order to figure out where things are going to go. So we looked at three different things. The first one was the first glimpse, as in going beyond the physical eye contact. The second one, confirmation of the soul connection, as in having a feeling that you've met that person before, or that you know that person from before. And the easiest clue is you crush all the barriers of time. And the third one is synchronicities and signs from the universe. So if you can find all these three things are happening with a person, then you can be fairly certain that maybe it's a soul connection. There is not 100% certainty yet, but you're kind of treading along that path. So how do you know whether it's a soul connection or it's a chemistry that is so intense, at least momentarily, but it is not built to last. So in the next video, I'm going to reveal the dead giveaway when a relationship won't go the distance, so that you can avoid investing your time with the wrong person or with the wrong people. I'll see you in the next video.